Hi, my name is Devin. I'm an editor here at Kitchen Stories, and today I'm going to show you how to make some lemongrass grilled chicken lettuce wraps. It's a nice big platter of really fresh ingredients and grilled chicken. You wrap it up in your hands and you kind of just eat it like that. A nice alternative to a burger or a hot dog or something like that. So yeah, let's get started. The first step in making the marinade is actually to make a Vietnamese caramel sauce, which is very different than your sweet caramel sauce that you might use for ice cream or other desserts. I will add my sugar. I'm going to save a little bit of this water for later, but add most of it now with the sugar. And before the sugar starts caramelizing, you can actually stir it up and let it dissolve. And then once the sugar is all dissolved and you can't see it anymore, I wouldn't stir it, but just instead swirl the pan. I learned this method from a chef and cookbook author called Andrea Nguyen. This sauce was something that I was really interested to try, but for this recipe, what it does is it really just allows you, when you grill the chicken, to get a really, really strong char on it, which is not really something that you can replicate. So now it's really getting to that point where it's kind of looks a little bit like molasses, but it's golden, it's kind of amber. I think it's good now. Don't be scared. I'm just gonna let it sit. I might just like toss it a little bit. So now that this has cooled down, you can tell that it's ready for me to add the rest of our water and heat it up again because it's basically hard now. Before we would use this, you would just want to let it come to room temperature, uncovered, and so that you don't get any condensation inside. And so I'm going to just set this aside, and what I have is some that I already made, which I can just show you what the consistency should look like. So really smooth, really glossy, sort of like molasses, but with a red color. First thing I'm gonna do is prepare the lemongrass. Just take off the first 1 or 2 layers of the lemongrass. They're a little bit tough sometimes, so no need to have them. And I'm just gonna cut off 2 inches from the top. The way to kind of remove the end is not to just cut it off, because there's a lot of really good flavor in the bottom of the root here, but instead you just want to smash it and the woody, tough, kind of fibrous pieces will fall away and you can just remove them. So I'm just going to smash it now with my knife. If you're using prepared lemongrass, I would just use maybe 2 tablespoons of it. Next, I'm going to mince a shallot. Now I've got 3 pieces of garlic. I'm gonna mince them all, and I'm gonna save some for the dipping sauce. It's really nice to kind of make the shallot and garlic mixture into a paste. So I'm just gonna mix these together and add my brown sugar. This is dark brown sugar. With the side of my knife, I'm gonna work it into a paste. Just slide the knife kind of over, using your palm for a little bit of pressure. And it doesn't have to be like a smooth paste, but you just want to release some of the liquids from the shallot and the garlic. You can also use a mortar and pestle and just add the minced shallot and garlic in with the sugar and just pound it into a paste that way. That works just the same. Now that it's very paste-like, I'm going to put it in with my lemongrass. To this, I'm going to add soy sauce, fish sauce, a little bit of vegetable oil, and then the caramel that we made. About 2 tablespoons of this to the marinade, and just mix that all together. And I'm also going to season this not with salt because it doesn't really need it. It's just add a little bit of pepper. Now that the marinade is ready, I'm gonna add my chicken, and I really like to use boneless chicken thighs for this recipe. So I'm just gonna add these with my hands and toss them individually just to make sure that they're all coated really nicely in the marinade. And also, if you don't want to use chicken, this marinade would be really good with pork chops or some shrimp or some tofu. Yeah, I mean, really, a lot of grilled vegetables would taste really good with this marinade too. Now I'm going to make the nuoc cham dipping sauce, which is a very common Vietnamese dipping sauce that is basically made up of just 4 ingredients, which is water, lime juice, sugar, and fish sauce. Sometimes people are adding Thai chili and garlic, which is what I'm gonna do, just for a little bit of spiciness and a little more garlic flavor in my final lettuce wrap. So I have my water here, which is actually the basis of the sauce. And I'm going to stir in the sugar to dissolve it. Limes. The finishing touch is fish sauce. This is a sauce that you really can adjust based on your own taste. It should be a balance, and it should be quite pungent as well, so it should not taste watery even though there's water in it. I'm not gonna adjust it at all. So I'm just gonna add it to my bowl with the garlic and chilies. So this might look like a lot of nuoc cham dipping sauce, and that's because it is, but you can save it in the fridge for a few days and serve it on top of rice with some fresh veggies or some leftover grilled meat if you have it. You can also eat it with spring rolls as a dipping sauce, or even in kind of these rice noodle salads that are really popular also in Vietnamese cuisine. So I'm gonna set this aside. We're in the final stages of the lettuce wraps, so I'm gonna let this heat up on medium-high heat. And while that's heating, I'm going to prep the lettuce and the cucumber. Is like butterhead lettuce here. You could also use romaine if you'd like, but I like the flavor of the butterhead lettuce and also the texture. It's crunchy, but it's also soft. And then I have a variety of herbs here, which are also going to be put on the platter now. I have fresh mint, some basil, and also cilantro, and I'm just gonna pile them on here too. It's just an abundance of freshness. I have the chicken here that I had been marinating overnight. The pan is really hot, and what I'm gonna do is just brush it with just a little bit of vegetable oil just to ensure that the chicken doesn't stick. So let's start grilling our chicken. So I'm gonna let these cook for 5 minutes until they're really charred and crispy on the skin side, and then I'll flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. Oh yeah. That's what you're looking for. Chicken thighs are really great for grilling or just for cooking with in general because they have a lot of fat and connective tissue, and you can't really overcook them. So if you're ever afraid that, after you flip these that your chicken might not be cooked through, just err on the side of leaving them a little bit longer. So these are done now. If you were to slice it right now, the juices would run out all over your cutting board, and that's not what you want. You want it to stay together. So the chicken has been resting for 10 minutes about. The reason that I'm slicing it as good as it looks just as one big chunk is obviously so that you can take slices and layer it into your lettuce wraps more easily. I should say something about how charred it is and how dark the skin got. I mean, it's black. That is because of the marinade and the sugar. It's gonna taste really good. It's not going to taste like burnt toast. It's charred, but that's exactly what we're looking for, especially with this marinade. So don't worry that it looks like this. This is your finished platter. You have your fresh herbs here, your delicious lemongrass chicken, the nuoc cham, and your lettuce. The fun thing about this is that you can do it how you want it. So I'm gonna take a piece of lettuce here in my hand, put some herbs and some cucumbers, a few pieces of chicken, and layer them into, and then just spoon the nuoc cham right over the top of everything. And then I just like fold it up a little bit like this, and then just enjoy it. It made a big mess, but it's really, really good. It has the balance of flavors from the really charred chicken to the really fresh herbs and the crunchiness of the lettuce and the cucumbers. Like, this is what you want to eat when it's really hot in the summer and you're just hanging out with friends. So it's delicious. Okay, it's really, now I just want to eat like a whole plate full for lunch.